a second?
John, remember, you can't vote to approve them, this is just.
No.
I'm sorry, just to
Put them on the agenda.
put the agenda,
Need a second?
the motion, the board meeting, because we have to publish them. We'll make them available for
He's-
public preview.
He seconded it.
All right, Mrs. Shumway?
So, yes?
Mr. Kurtz?
Yes.
Mr. Woodward?
Yes.
And there was further discussion on Article 16, is that correct?
Well, I've read this and I believe that I would prefer to leave the language as we currently have it written there because I would like to reserve to the chair and this board the opportunity to entertain comments from individuals who will appear before the board, just as we did today with Mr. Claypool. I don't see the necessity of us sitting up here with an egg timer. I don't know that that's something that's really all that necessary. I believe that the board can manage its own session in a comfortable manner without the necessity of a specific time.
Well, I think if we keep it consistent with the timely and efficient park board business, there's no problem with it.
So,
Okay. So
From
I
a housekeeping standpoint, we did strike some items for inclusion on agenda items, topics, if you will. Are there any problems with that? Numbers 1 through 12, roll call, pledge of allegiance, things of that nature. Meaning we do not introduce guests, we don't have communications to the park board.
let me make that by a separate motion. I would approve the changes to the agenda with striking items 3, 5, and 8 as indicated in your second page of the memorandum.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
And so that everybody knows what they are in case you don't have the board packet, that would be striking the adoption of the agenda, introduction of guests, and communications to the park board. But open to the public is still on there. It's kind of redundant. Okay?
Yeah, that's what we're asking for. Put it into the record to vote on.
That's my motion.
Correct.
Dave was correct. Okay. All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
All right. Mrs. Shumway.
Vote yes.
Mr. Wondorf.
Yes.
Mr. Kurtz.
Yes.
All right. Do that. On to an easy one. Surplus property.
You guys are cleaning out that closet.
I move approval of the disposition of the items of surplus property.
Second vote.
Mrs. Shumway.
Yep, I did. Surplus property. But
Mr. Kurtz.
Yes.
Mr. Wondorf.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Michelle is going to go ahead and,
Commissioner's time. Yes, we'll let Michelle go first.
thank you.
Explain the 2015 Connect Winter Photo Contest. Winter and winter.
Steve, if you'd like to come forward. This year is one of the many new things that we are trying out. We have started a photo contest on our web, and it's part of the campaign, Connect People with the Parks. And so this winner, our first winner, is Steve Avoda of Painesville. He captured a day off work at the Rookery, and he won the contest, which we had over 50 featured entries for, and he was the winner with this photo here. And for being the winner, he receives this photo framed as well as a pint of our maple syrup from the sugar bush down at Swine Creek. So we want to congratulate Steve and thank him for coming in to make it back to work today. And keep taking pictures, we love them. Okay. And just so everyone's aware, all of the pictures of everyone who took pictures of the photo contest are available on our Facebook page. So if you want to take a look at all of the pictures that were submitted, they're out there. And I want to let you know, we do give a second place winner as well, and her name was Kim Bree Tomba, and she captured a quartet of American Cardinals at the Westwoods, and she also won Sorrow. So we congratulate you and Kim.
Okay, I have a letter from Judge Grandel, and I'm just going to sum it up for you all, and I'm going to ask, I'll give you this so that you can put it in as part of the record. This is in regards to, if you all are not familiar with it, House Bill 8 that is coming before us now, and I'll have John make some comments afterwards because John and I discussed this last week. It means that the chief will have no discretion. If a driller seeks to include the park's public land, the chief shall include it in a pool. They're talking in a pool 650 acres. So this is not something that they're looking at little bitty plots of property. They're looking at big acreage. Judge wanted to express that his concern is that bringing this matter to our attention because of the potential negative impact the passage of House Bill 8 could have on our parks. So with that being said, John, would you like to address to everyone what you've been working on with, and this goes to.
I did look into House Bill 8, and Mary Ruth has summarized it already, but basically, you could pull this right off the website, as passed by the House, a bill to amend sections 1509.28 and 5713.051 of the revised code to revise provision in the oil and gas law governing unit operation. And here is where park districts, and specifically 1545 park districts, as created under the Ohio Revised Code, are taking issue with some of the languages. I'll just read a section of this House Bill 8 quickly. Notwithstanding divisions A to H of section 1509.73, and 1509.73 is what, as many of you may know, is leasing formations. As Mary Ruth mentioned, property owners that come in and pool their land, pool their resources. Of the revised code and rules adopted under it, the chief shall issue an order for the unit operation of a pool or part of a pool that encompasses a unit area consisting in whole or in part of oil or natural gas resources owned or controlled by the state or a political subdivision of the state, other than a state park operating under Chapter 1541 of the revised code. So our concern is that 1545s are not being recognized as being exempt from these provisions. Right here it states just state parks. So I reached out to Brian Zimmerman. Brian Zimmerman is the executive director at Cleveland Metro Parks. He was aware of it. Furthermore, it's always nice when another agency has a legal opinion and they are concerned about this as well. I then reached out to, and Brian reached out to as well, Woody Woodward. He's the executive director with Ohio Parks and Recreation Association. They do a lot of lobbying on our behalf for park districts, and I did hear back from Woody. He contacted a number of the other executive directors around the state of Ohio that are with 1545 park districts, so they will lobby on our behalf. And Woody says, I've had a number of meetings on this over the past couple of days. We have gotten the Municipal League and Township Association engaged in this as well. He says the Senate is in no hurry to move this bill. I was told yesterday it would not move in any form prior to September, and it would be dramatically changed if it moves. We will obviously stay on top of this. I know Woody personally, so I'm confident in their ability to lobby on our behalf, on behalf of park districts, and I will be in touch with other directors from around the state and with Woody Woodward to hopefully ensure there's an inclusion in the Senate version of the bill to also exempt township parks and 1545 parks.
And when you say 1545 parks, you're talking about the section, the chapter of the revised
Yes.
code that deals with park districts such as
That's
Geauga
correct.
Park.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, in the Ohio Revised Code.
We kind of thought this would come.
Right.
Yes.
We knew this would come, and then the next participant will be the federal government. They're gonna get their fingers in this too.
So some of you are very, very good at letter writing. I'm going to ask that you start writing letters because again, it kind of reminds me of Senate and Congress where, you know, they vote for things for us, but it doesn't include them. Well, again, the state parks have been excluded from this, but our parks are included. And the reality is they're looking for 650 acre units. Well, we hold a lot of those bigger parcels in Geauga County.
So there could be a pool, and that's part of the concern is the pooling of our acreage.
Right. In other words, so what I'm saying is, say we have a 300 acre park, and they have the surrounding neighbors that say, yeah, we want to do this. They can more or less come in and say, we don't care if you want to or not, we won't put the drill on your property, but we can do horizontal drilling under the park property. And we also lose our mineral rights too with it.
Just to clarify, the purpose, the reason why the judge wrote this letter was simply to let us know
We need to be
about proposed house update and that it had passed 98 to nothing in the Ohio House in March of 2015. So if, as she has invited you, please write letters, and if you want to see a copy of the judge's letter to us as park commissioners, it will be made available to you.
Okay, did you all have anything else on your first time to meet? John, do you have?
I'm sorry.
John has one more.
Really quick, I want to make you aware of, and if you have time, you need to attend a fishing event for special needs children. This is in partnership with and hosted by the Chip Henry Institute, Geauga Park District, our Geauga County Educational Services Center, and the Geauga County Rotarian Club. So we work with Jim Dvorak. He's a Burton Township trustee and a Middlefield Burton Rotary member. And that event is next Tuesday, May 19th, and that's at our Walter C. Best Wildlife Preserve. So it's a unique opportunity with kids with special needs. That is from 9:30 to 11:30.
Thank you.
It's a unique opportunity for kids with special needs to be hosted by a Rotarian, to utilize one of our parks and get to fish for the day. Have a good time.
Are we using any purchase volunteers for that event?
We typically don't. The Rotarians are pretty passionate about it, but we do provide some basic staff assistance. We run our golf cart out there and things of that nature. So.
I can't remember when this was, but we had a vote on the purchase of a vehicle for access by elderly or disabled people. Where are we with that? So that we can utilize those vehicles during our summer program.
Did we?
Well, we were supposed to be, yeah. We have one vehicle now that
we have
seats
one.
6 people. Is that correct?
What's in your budget, Brent?
I think what you're referring to was it's the Easy Go.
Yeah.
We had to replace our batteries last month, so that's what we did, we replaced the battery packs in there, so it is available in use.
But we were looking to purchase one that held a total of 12 people so that we could do more of the handicap programs, and I think that it's not in the budget. No.
We'll take a look.
Can we take a look at putting it in the budget and voting on it for June, possibly? I think it was $12,000 if we need to.
For another one, anyone? We have some items that were requested for 16 for ADA to address ADA.
It was 16,000?
No, 2016.
Okay.
In 2016, some other items.
Why don't you just let us know what the costs were and what it would be to move some funding around? If we need to do it now, if it would be beneficial for the Chip Henry and some of the other events that we
We
do.
have a van coming up that we're ordering, but that's not being
No.
accessible.
Mhm. This is the larger golf cart that would do.
For my comments, I wanted to thank Mr. Andre for his opinion dated May 1. There were some questions raised in one of our prior meetings about the accessing of the Pine Brook Preserve and the Park District rights and responsibilities, and if it's not inappropriate, can we please have Mr. Andre give you any warning? And Dave, can you come up here and please give us your summary on what advice advice you gave to the board in this regard, and I have your thing right here.
That'd be great, that was just, yeah. Voted a few weeks ago, so it's hard to.
Thank you.
So, had been discussion about what were the obligations or the responsibilities of the Park District now regarding inspections of Pine Brook. Because as everyone is aware, under the management agreement, the park won't take over full control of that for years and years, depending upon the lifespan of the Landy's children. I took a look at not only the management agreement, but the environmental covenant that was entered into by the Park District, as well as all the other Ohio wetlands documents and agreements, and between the Ohio EPA and the Park District, I think there were probably 7 or 8 different documents at least I reviewed. But really only 2 of them really seem to answer the question. And specifically under the environmental covenant, you don't have an obligation to actually go in and inspect Pine Brook until such time as the Ohio Wetlands Foundation is released from further responsibility of eradicating a certain invasive vegetation species on that property. And if they achieve certain goals for 2 years in a row, they will be released by the Ohio EPA, and the Park District will then be obligated to continue that program, and that will require some amount of obviously monitoring and visits. Otherwise, the Park District has the right to inspect Pine Brook from time to time in order to make sure that the provisions of the environmental covenant are not being violated. And those provisions include to make sure the property isn't being subdivided in any way, to make sure there's no commercial development or industrial activity, to make sure there's not any new gas or oil drilling and wells, or any changing of the footprints of existing dams or the elevations of those dams, nor the building of any new structures or parking areas, except as the Park District's eventually going to be permitted to do that also. So you have a right to conduct those types of, also to make sure there's no dumping of waste or cutting of trees or any dredging or alteration of the natural water courses. So you have the right to do that, but you're not obligated to do that. All you're obligated to do is take care of the invasive species once that responsibility is turned over to you. So,
Are we obligated to try, and I know this is slightly outside the scope of what you wrote, but are we obligated as a district to monitor what hunting activity goes on the parcel?
no, not under those provisions. And in fact, under the management agreement, the Landis family has the right to hunt and to trap.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughtful reply. Thank you, Dave.
So, did you have something else you wanted to comment?
I'll let Michelle comment on the telescope that's being donated, because just the value of this telescope, it's incredible that this is an in-kind donation being offered, so it's pretty neat, and that's all I have.
Well, I have one more thing, just for Commissioner's time, just real quick, just so that I don't forget. So that I have Ed Buckles will be presenting in regards to the bylaw changes since 2014, and Jake and Chad will be presenting to the board also in June in regards to a mountain bike program. I knew you were going to ask me their last names because I have it on. I have it in an email and I'll give it to you. Yeah, and if I try to spell their name, I'll have a letter wrong, so just S-T-A, yeah.
Well, you heard me mention earlier about a telescope that kind of, we received a call about last week, and so now I'm coming before you to request the board to make a motion to accept this telescope. I'm going to give you a little bit of information in the background. The telescope is a newer model, Meade LX200 ACF 16-inch telescope. which for people like me would mean nothing normally. However, I was one of the lucky ones to be able to go out and see this, and we took along our astronaut, Chris Mentrek, who, before we went out and saw it, I had him write down some words of, what does telescope do, what could it add, and what kind of programs could we do with this type of telescope? Is this really worthwhile to us? And this was before he even got to see this piece of equipment. And some of the words he used is, it's a great general purpose size that's good for both planets like Saturn this summer or farther away objects, the Orion Nebula next winter, for instance. The design of this telescope facilitates on-ground viewing for folks who can't climb the giant overly accessed ladder. It's great for ADA accessible. Most importantly, this kind of telescope is expressly, in all large letters, designed for taking long exposure photographs of the sky. This is something that none of the existing telescopes at Observatory Park can perform. Adding this telescope to Observatory Park would, in essence, add a photography option to the public and school programs. What's more, this is now from John Kolar, what's more, this passes Chris's equipment acceptance criteria. If this were the only telescope we ever owned, we could still use it as the basis of an astronomy-themed park. This is pretty much the same kind of equipment that Cleveland State University uses at Lakeland Community College Observatory. So then, now back to Chris, thanks Santa. We went out and saw it, and I can just tell you Chris's excitement when he got to see the telescope for the first time. And he took it was his beautiful cover, took the cover off of it, and we realized that this telescope had never actually been used. And it's got all the computer functions and the lenses and everything we could ever ask for. It is a $16,000 piece of equipment. Wow. And Chris is just, I think I had to pick his mouth up from the floor and go, Chris, we're gonna get this. You're gonna be able to play with this at a park. He's like, this is so great. And those who know Chris, you just know he's just full of excitement. He just kept going, thank you, thank you, thank you. This lady was, I'm so glad I took her, because the individual who's donating this, she was just full of excitement seeing his excitement in the room that day. So we would like you to make a motion, if you could, to accept this particular telescope. The donors are Deborah and Glenn Renwick of, it's actually Russell Township.
So moved.
Mrs. Shumway,
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Mr. Gertz, and Mr. Wonderly.
Yes. Michelle, do we need to start thinking about contracting or somehow getting astronomy students from nearby colleges in order to be able to operate all this?
Yes, actually I was running reports today. John saw some of my stats that I put in his office this morning, and that is definitely something that I have in my future plan for the division, is we need some growth in the astronomy related side of things. We have the programs and we're starting to see we have the people attending, so I do see some growth in that area, that we're going to need probably some more staff over there as well. So
you'll be reporting back to us at some point about what we need. Thank you.
absolutely.
Great, thank you.
I could do that now, but we'll wait.
All right, thank you very much. Very exciting when you come.
Okay, so we have open to the public. Does anyone have any comments? Yeah.
Hi, thank you. I'm Kathy Hanna from Chardon Township, and I just want to make a comment. This is my own personal opinion. I don't represent a group with this comment, but I object to the politicizing of the parks. Mr. Claypool's talk was really basic Tea Party screed. Plus the Tea Party indoctrination schools that are planned for the summer are counter to the spirit of our park district. If we were to follow the logic of the path that Mr. Claypool and the Tea Party suggest, the Geauga Park District would be dissolved and the land would be put into the hands of private individuals for whatever they consider to be stewardship. And then I also have couple of pieces of paper that these are just job descriptions from various park districts across the state. Just kind of like a boilerplate plate, just for comparison. Thank you.
Job descriptions for,
Just,
oh, executive director, okay. I thought you were gonna give us the descriptions for all.
And may I ask, you're giving these to us because,
Just for comparison. Just for, I mean, as you're on your search.
We can share that.
yeah, that's, copied by Anna, if she's in the room.
Or even Robin,
That was
and Robin can send. Okay, do we have anybody else that wanted to make a comment?
Shelley Chernin, Russell Township. I want to thank the board for the changes in the bylaws relating to open meetings. I have a few comments to make about proposed changes. I did get this through the board packet, so I know not everybody has seen them. Basically the same change has been added under regular sessions, special sessions, and emergency sessions about giving notice of the time of and date of meetings. But what's missing that's required by the statute, RC 121.22F, is that for special sessions and for emergency sessions, you need to establish a rule so that the public can determine what the purpose of the meeting is. That's not included in either Article 5 or in Article 6. So whatever notices are given for special sessions or for emergency sessions, as well as giving the time and place of the meetings, must also tell us what the purpose of those meetings are. And then in Article 6, in the last sentence, which I'll read to you, due however to the emergency nature of such sessions, advanced determination of the time and place and purpose of such emergency sessions may necessarily be difficult or impossible to provide in every instance. I wonder if the proper word might be advanced notification rather than advanced determination. And I would also like to point out that the statute requires for emergency sessions, even if it's just on 1 hour's notice, that notification be given to the news media. So I don't know if you would want to include that in the bylaws or not, but I know sometimes it's difficult or impossible to give notice, but you are required by statute to give notice to the news media. I appreciate the fact that you are not moving forward with some of those changes in Article 16, which I don't think probably would have changed the way the meetings are run in terms of how long people are given time to make public comment, but the tone is different, and I appreciate the tone of the current article much more than I appreciated the amended one. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, John, you're next. After this woman, ladies first, okay? Sorry, John.
Sure, that's okay.
My name is Elsie Tarsi, and I live in South Russell. And I would like to speak to your comment